Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're navigating the really incredible maze of mental health care settings, our compass, Varkarolis's Foundations of Psychiatric Mental Health Nursing, the 8th edition, by Margaret Jordan Halter. Now, this isn't just about, textbook theory. It's really about seeing the diverse, real-world places where you, as future nurses, will connect with patients, use your skills, and make a real difference. We'll be tying this straight into NCLEX priorities and the kind of critical thinking you absolutely need for clinical practice. So let's get started.
Yeah, that's a really crucial mission. And what's so interesting here is just the sheer range, the spectrum of psychiatric care. It really does span this whole continuum, from proactive community support, things designed to keep people well and prevent crises, all the way to acute inpatient settings where you need immediate, sometimes life-saving help. Understanding this whole range, it isn't just academic. It's fundamental if you want to give truly holistic, person-centered care. And in every single one of these settings, nurses are just pivotal. They ensure safety, they advocate for patients, they actively promote recovery. That's always the goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start tracing that broad continuum. Like you said, imagine it as a gradient, moving from the least restrictive settings where you maximize independence to the most intensive for really acute needs. This variety is there to meet people exactly where they are on their mental health journey.
Precisely. Yeah. And, often the very first door someone walks through isn't a specialized mental health clinic at all. It's frequently their primary care provider, their family doctor, or maybe a nurse practitioner. They're so important for that initial screening and some basic treatment. For instance, maybe a patient comes in feeling constantly tired, low mood. The PCP might use a screening tool like the PHQ-9.
Ah, the Patient Health Questionnaire 9.
Exactly. It's a common, quick way to assess depression symptoms. It helps guide that conversation about mental health, maybe make some initial suggestions or a referral. Now, if things are more complex, the patient might then transition to specialized psychiatric care providers. We're talking psychiatrists, psychiatric nurse practitioners, psychologists, clinical social workers. These are the folks who handle formal diagnoses, manage medications, and provide specific therapies, like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, helping people reframe those negative thought patterns.
Right, or DBT, dialectical behavior therapy.
Yeah, DBT, often used for emotional regulation, building interpersonal skills, really targeted stuff.
And what's really interesting, I think, in how care is evolving is this idea of patient-centered medical homes. It's not just a building, right? It's more of an integrated model. It tries to bring physical and mental health care together, maybe under one roof, or at least with really smooth coordination. Think about a patient, let's call her Maria. She manages chronic migraines, and she also has recurrent anxiety. In the old system, maybe she's bouncing between a neurologist and a totally separate therapist.
Right, two different worlds sometimes.
Exactly. But in a patient-centered medical home, her whole primary care team, maybe including a psychiatric nurse, a social worker, even a dietitian, they all work together. The insight here, I think, is that it shifts care from just treating separate conditions to looking at holistic well-being. It acknowledges mental and physical health are just intertwined. For you as a nurse, this means a lot of coordination, managing complex needs, and really promoting overall health, not just zeroing in on one diagnosis. You're kind of the hub making sure all Maria's care fits together.
That's a great way to put it. And building on that idea of integrated, accessible care, we have some really key community-based care options. Community mental health centers, for example. Think of them as central hubs. They offer a whole range of services: therapy, meds, crisis help, case management, right there in the local community. Makes it easier to access. Then there's psychiatric home care. This is fantastic for supporting recovery where someone feels most comfortable in their own home. It can really help prevent people needing to go back to the hospital. Imagine you're a nurse visiting someone just discharged after, say, a manic episode. You're checking if they're taking their meds, watching for returning symptoms, assessing their home for safety, maybe connecting them with local food banks or social groups. It's not just clinical tasks. It's really about helping them succeed back in their daily life.
That sounds incredibly supportive.
It really can be. And then for folks needing even more support, but still in the community, there are assertive community treatment teams, or ACT teams. These teams are pretty unique. They're intensive, they're mobile, meaning they go out to the patient, and they're multidisciplinary. They mainly serve individuals with severe and persistent mental illnesses, people who often find it hard to connect with traditional clinic-based services. The key insight, I think, is that by literally meeting patients where they are, in their apartment, a coffee shop, wherever ACT teams break down those barriers to getting care, The team nurses, psychiatrists, social workers, peer specialists provides everything from meds to therapy to help with daily living skills right there on the spot. It's very proactive.
Wow, that's a powerful model, meeting people where they are. And
Yeah.
then you also mentioned intensive outpatient programs, IOPs, and partial hospitalization programs, PHPs. How do those fit in?
Right, so they're kind of a step up from regular outpatient therapy, but still less restrictive than being fully hospitalized. Partial hospitalization programs, PHPs, offer a pretty structured daily program, often several hours a day, maybe 5 days a week, lots of therapy, groups, medication checks. But the key is the patient goes home at night. Intensive outpatient programs, IOPs, are a bit less intense than PHPs, maybe a few hours a day, a few times a week. Both are great for people who need more support than just weekly therapy, but don't quite need 247 care. They can keep living at home, maybe keep up with some work or school. And looking ahead, we can't forget telepsychiatry. It's becoming so important, especially for reaching people in underserved or rural areas. Connecting with providers remotely just opens up access enormously.
Okay, that makes sense. But while prevention and ongoing support are ideal, sometimes a crisis does happen. That brings us to emergency care.
Exactly. Emergency departments are often the first point of contact during an acute mental health crisis. Their role is immediate stabilization and intervention. For nurses in the ER, it's all about rapid assessment. Is this person a danger to themselves, to others? Are they so impaired they can't care for themselves, what we call gravely disabled? You might have someone come in extremely agitated. Your first job is de-escalation, trying to calm the situation verbally, ensuring safety for everyone. That means calm, direct communication, clear boundaries. Sometimes, if de-escalation fails and safety is at immediate risk, you might need safety protocols like restraints or maybe rapid tranquilization.
That sounds like administering medication quickly to help calm someone down.
That's right. But it's always part of a careful assessment process. It requires really sharp clinical judgment, often under intense pressure.
Definitely high stakes.
It is. And you mentioned prevention earlier, which is vital across all these settings. We usually talk about 3 levels, and nurses have a role in each. Primary prevention is about stopping mental illness before it even starts. Think about stress reduction programs in schools, teaching coping skills early on. A nurse might lead those workshops. Then there's secondary prevention. This is all about early detection and quick intervention to stop or slow down an illness, like routine depression screenings in a clinic, or doing a quick mental status check if a patient seems off. Catch it early. And finally, tertiary prevention. This focuses on reducing the long-term impact for people who already have a mental illness, promoting recovery and preventing relapse. Examples: relapse prevention groups for substance use, social skills training for schizophrenia, helping someone with chronic depression keep their job. Nurses are really key in promoting wellness at every single one of these stages.
That's a really clear framework. So if we pull it together, the essence of outpatient psychiatric nursing care seems to be promoting recovery and making sure treatment continues effectively outside the hospital walls. Nurses in these roles are constantly using therapeutic communication, right? Building that trust. Like if a patient says they feel hopeless, instead of saying, "Oh, don't worry," the nurse might say something like, "It sounds like you're carrying a heavy burden right now. Can you tell me more about what that feels like?"
Exactly. That open-ended approach, that empathy, it's crucial. It invites them to share more deeply. And beyond communication, outpatient nurses are doing comprehensive assessments, administering meds, educating patients and families about things like side effects or coping strategies, and coordinating care. These aren't just skills for passing the NCLEX, they're what you'll do every day to empower patients in managing their health in the community.
Okay, so that covers the outpatient side. Now, let's shift to the more intensive end of that continuum, inpatient care settings.
Right. This higher level of care is necessary when someone is, unfortunately, posing an immediate danger to themselves or others, or they're so severely impaired they just can't function safely in the community. We generally see a few main types of inpatient settings. There are crisis stabilization or observation units. These are usually for very short stays, maybe 24 to 72 hours, just to stabilize someone in an acute crisis before figuring out the next step. Then you have general hospital and private hospital psychiatric units. These provide acute care for a wider range of conditions with varying levels of intensity. And finally, there are state hospitals. Traditionally, these offer longer-term care for individuals with very severe and persistent mental illnesses, often people with complex needs, maybe even involvement with the legal system, what we call forensic involvement.
Got it. And when someone does need that level of acute inpatient care, what are the crucial things to keep in mind?
Well, first, the entry criteria are strict. As we mentioned, danger to self, others, or grave disability. But once admitted, understanding the rights of the hospitalized patient is absolutely paramount. This is fundamental to ethical nursing practice and patient advocacy. These rights include things like the right to privacy, the right to refuse medication unless it's an emergency or court-ordered, that's an important distinction, the right to receive treatment, and the right to give informed consent. As a nurse, upholding these rights is a core part of your job. It means making sure patients understand their options, advocating for what they want, and always protecting their dignity, even when they're very unwell.
That's so important. And you mentioned teamwork earlier. That must be huge in inpatient settings, too.
Oh, absolutely essential. Teamwork and collaboration are the bedrock of inpatient care. You're constantly working with psychiatrists, social workers, occupational therapists, pharmacists, other nurses. Everyone brings their expertise to create a comprehensive plan. And a really key concept here is the therapeutic milieu.
Right, the milieu. Can you break that down a bit? What does that really mean?
Sure, it's not just the physical space, although that's part of it. The therapeutic milieu is the entire environment of the unit. The structure, the interactions, the activities, all designed to be safe, supportive, and healing. Nurses are central to creating and maintaining this milieu. It's through things like fostering a sense of community on the unit, running therapeutic groups, setting clear and consistent expectations for behavior, and maybe most importantly, it's through every single interaction you have with the patient. Your calm demeanor, how you handle conflicts, how you communicate therapeutically, it all contributes to that healing atmosphere. Every interaction is potentially therapeutic.
So the environment itself is part of the treatment plan.
Exactly. And flowing from that, a big part of inpatient nursing is managing behavioral crises. Safety is always, always the #1 priority. For patients, for staff, for everyone. This involves things like suicide precautions, which could range from checking someone every 15 minutes to having constant one-to-one observation and removing anything potentially dangerous from their room. When a patient starts to escalate, becoming agitated or aggressive, the nurse needs a clear, step-by-step approach. First, try verbal de-escalation. Then maybe offer a quiet space or suggest a PRN and as-needed medication. Only if the patient or others are in immediate physical danger would you consider things like physical restraint, and that's always a last resort with strict protocols. It's a very calculated response.
And even the physical layout matters.
Definitely. Unit design plays a role. Think about features like ligature-free environments, meaning no points where someone could attach something to harm themselves, like exposed pipes or door handles that aren't breakaway. Also, clear lines of sight for staff, open common areas to reduce isolation, but also quiet rooms for when someone needs space. These are all intentional design choices to support both safety and the therapeutic goals of the milieu.
Okay, so bringing it all together for the inpatient side. Inpatient psychiatric nursing care sounds incredibly multifaceted.
It really is. You're conducting comprehensive mental health assessments constantly, from admission right through discharge. You're implementing evidence-based interventions for everything from major depression to acute psychosis. You're managing complex psychopharmacology, watching closely for effects and side effects. You're actively managing that therapeutic milieu we talked about, providing vital patient and family education about their illness and treatment options. And underlying everything is ensuring safety. It demands sharp, critical thinking and clinical decision-making constantly. It's challenging, no doubt, but also incredibly rewarding work.
It sounds like it. And are there other specialized settings we should touch on?
Yeah, just briefly. Beyond these core settings, there are several important specialty treatment settings. We have pediatric psychiatric care, focusing on the unique needs of kids and teens. There's geriatric psychiatric care, dealing with the complexities of mental health in older adults, often intertwined with physical health issues. Veterans Administration Centers offer specialized care, often focusing on trauma-informed approaches for military veterans. Forensic psychiatric care sits at that intersection of mental health and the legal system. Then there's specific alcohol and drug use disorder treatment centers with specialized programs. And we should always acknowledge the value of self-help options, things like AA, NA, NAMI support groups. Peer support is incredibly powerful.
Wow, hearing all that really drives home the incredible breadth of psychiatric nursing. It's huge, from promoting wellness out in the community, helping people thrive, all the way to providing that critical life-saving care in acute settings and creating those healing environments. The scope is just immense.
It truly is. And maybe as you, or listeners, reflect on this journey across the treatment continuum, here's something to think about. How does the specific setting chosen for treatment profoundly shape a patient's entire recovery journey? Each environment, from home care to a state hospital, carries unique ethical considerations, unique practical challenges, and requires different skills from the nurse. It's a field that demands constant learning, adaptation, and just a deep understanding of the human experience in all its complexities.
Well said. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the deep dive today. We really hope this exploration into psychiatric mental health treatment settings has helped clarify the landscape and also deepened your appreciation for the absolutely vital role nurses play across this entire spectrum. Remember, understanding these settings isn't just about passing your exams. It's truly about building both your knowledge base and your empathy as you prepare to become thoughtful, effective, and compassionate mental health professionals. Keep diving deep.